Hi and welcome to the Party Line. You're here with me, Annika.
Omar.
Geordie.
This podcast was recorded on Aboriginal land. We stand in solidarity with our Indigenous brothers and sisters in their struggles against racism and capitalism.
Always.
Always was, always will be Aboriginal land.
Oh my darling, oh my darling, oh my darling party line. Oh, I never will forsake thee, for I love this life of mine.
I put it to you guys that I'm being gang stalked by the police.
You have evidence. You have
Really?
documents to prove it.
I've got a warrant from the sheriff's office.
What for?
Well, for unpaid fines from 2016.
Oh, okay.
That's insane. I didn't know it was 2016.
Hold on. That just sounds like you haven't paid your fine.
No, because why now is my question.
Because you were in court.
I was in court
3
in the
days ago.
morning.
Oh, yesterday?
In the morning, and then in the afternoon, the sheriff came to my door and said I have to pay the police
Fuck, it must be big if it's from 2016.
$1,400.
Yeah. This happened to me once. Sarah
sheriff
had a
showed up.
lot of fines on the car. And then when I tried to register the car, they blocked me. And it was an enormous amount of money based on thinking you can get away with it. You
Yeah.
actually can't get away with most of things.
And I actually did. We
Tragically.
have a bunch of friends who are lawyers and stuff. And a couple of years ago, I was like, "Hey, what happens to these fines? Because I think they just go away."
No.
And she was like, "No, they definitely don't go away."
It's sad, yeah.
So
I can't believe we actually have sheriffs.
yeah, we have
Yeah.
sheriffs.
Do they have like cool hats and stuff?
He had no cool
the
hat.
vest.
Have you seen the car? They have
No.
the sheriff car. There's a Vic Pol car, but it says sheriff and it has a big badge on it. And
Was it like a scene from Fargo when they came to your door? Were you sort of like peeking out the window, kind of cool music playing in the background?
That's actually exactly right. I think I was listening like MJ Lenderman or some shit like that. But I was really worried. I was like, oh, God,
Yeah.
what's going to happen here? No one was there to film my arrest if I got
Ah,
taken. But no, they just said I have to pay them lots of money and I have 7 days to pay it. Yeah, otherwise they're going to come back. And he was like, I don't want to have to come back.
Well, I mean, you don't have any assets, right? So
Well,
Yeah, but that means they take more stuff.
Oh,
'cause
well,
it's
no, I
worthless.
was thinking about what they could take from me, and literally, like, the only physical property I own is my computer.
you used to be able to go to jail and wipe it, but I think they've deleted that.
Yeah, because it's like debt slavery.
Yeah, I always thought it would be a much better option.
just like go there for 7 days. Or something
Yeah,
like that.
and then you keep your money. Like,
Well, anyways, if anyone wants to
Sure, they
help
have that
me,
in America.
anyone wants to help me pay my fine so they don't go to jail, just message me on Instagram or something like that. I'll give you.
no, don't do that. Just give it to Patreon. Support the movement, not individual heroes.
Oh God. Well, are we doing headlines today, Geordie?
Yeah.
Tell us about some cool stuff that's happened.
We've got some headlines. We actually have some breaking news. This is embargoed until hopefully the time that you are listening to this podcast.
Also, sorry if it's loud in the background. It literally just started raining.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's quite cozy. But I don't know if anyone remembers the empty house report that came out last year. They used to do it every like 4 or 5 years. And it's just like a speculative vacancy report. It's done by an organisation called Prosper, which is a Georgist institution.
A what?
The
Georgists. They're like,
We need more tax.
you can get rid of poverty if you tax land, property.
Jordan
properly.
actually once went to a Georgist ball.
They invited me to their dinner. It was quite funny. I'm not a Georgist, so I don't know why they invited me, but I think because they
So they support higher taxes on land.
Yeah, land. They
I mean, that's not the worst thing in the world, is it?
that's fine. Like it, but
But
like
it's just very niche.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they think it's better than Marxism.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
like this is
Oh,
how
that's no
we
good.
solve all social ills. is,
Gotcha.
by taxing, like getting rid of income tax and everything like
Oh.
that. Like getting rid of all other taxes, just taxing land.
Oh, that would have to be very high land tax. I
It
think
would-
probably would go beyond supportable.
It would, I have no idea what the actual, I haven't read the book. I tried to read the start of it and it was just a bit like, okay.
Seriously, rich people don't have that much land. Like
Yeah.
they have capital.
Yeah, like when this George guy was writing,
Yeah.
they did.
That's all there was.
Yeah, it's just the
They didn't
landed
have a stock
gentry
market and
Exactly.
shit like that.
And it's like exploitation is okay
Banks.
as long as you tax them.
Yeah.
But Marx writes about Henry George. He's like, that's nice. it won't work.
Yeah.
It's like all these like sort of theory, like political theories or whatever. The way that they think about how you're going to solve social ills is just by changing one mechanism in the system, and then if you change that mechanism, like all the pieces will fall into place.
Exactly. This is the only thing wrong with capitalism is that like land's not taxed enough.
Yeah.
Like cool. But yeah, so they release the Empty Homes pretty much report, and it's based on they released it last year, but they released a data update this year, which I don't think they've done before, but they thought it was imperative that they do so, and that's probably because there's been a 16% rise in empty homes in Melbourne over the last year, the last 12 months.
When they say Melbourne, does that just mean the like
Metro,
Melbourne and surrounds?
Yeah, Metro Melbourne, excluding
Geelong.
the Mornington Peninsula and places like Geelong.
So what's the total now?
It's over 100,000. So last time it was...
Wait, what? 100,000 empty homes?
Yeah, in
Jesus
metropolitan Melbourne
Christ.
alone. And like last time it was 96,000 or something like that. But that includes homes that are vacant for like more than like 6 months of the year as well. So it's like not completely empty. So it's like
Underused
Airbnbs and stuff like that. But it excludes places with an overwhelming amount of Airbnbs like Daylesford, the Mornington Peninsula, all those kind of places. And some of the stats show, so that they've got a little quote in here. This is from the, like, one of the quotes that they released in the media release. And it is, Melbourne added enough totally empty properties last year to effectively wipe out one in every 9 new builds, new dwellings.
So basically, like, even though there's been an increase in the amount of new properties that have been built, so many of them sit empty that it just it neutralises
exactly. And they counter the supply argument as well.
Yeah.
They're like, it's not enough to build more homes, that's good, because it's like,
true.
yeah, that is
Because
true.
all of the articles in the sort of like mainstream press still just keep on pushing that it's a supply side problem. And obviously there's an element of that, but yeah, I mean, you were on the radio the other day talking about some of this stuff. Like ABC asked you if you thought that there should be a ban on
how many? Yeah, they had a segment called "What If Wednesdays," and they were like, "What if we limited home ownership to 2 homes and negative gearing to just 1 home?" And I was like, well, what about no investment properties?
probably a step too far for the ABC.
But that wasn't the question that she asked. And then I talked about that, we already do that with commodities. We should probably, like, that's a sensible step, I guess, to limit it to two homes. If we're, limited toilet paper to 2 toilet paper purchases during COVID, like, it just makes sense. So someone argued against it, which was nice.
What'd they say?
She kind of admitted that, like, it actually isn't a bad idea, but she was like, but I'm obligated to argue against it because this is What If Wednesdays and whatever. She's like, quite fun. Get someone who's like wedded
Like
to
passionate
the...
about it.
I don't want you. Get
Real
that
estate
guy with like
speculator.
253 investment properties that was on Ben Fordham. I want to talk to that guy.
Or the NSN person campaigning about affordable housing while having 30,000 in their portfolio.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What are some more headlines, Geordie?
So another thing, the Housing Affordability Report was released. Everything's really shit.
Oh, yeah.
Again.
And there's no connection, of course, between these, these two stories.
Absolutely nothing. That was yesterday or the day before.
It was like it'll take the average household to save
20 years.
Like, yeah, it was 11 years for a 20% deposit.
Yeah.
Which is just like, people have to wait so long to like start their lives or whatever. And then that's not even just, it's just terrible.
The eastern suburbs of Sydney, which is like, if you're not from Sydney or you haven't been there, it's the most beautiful part. It would take the average person 25 years to save a deposit.
It's insane. And it's like, the report is like, this is the worst it's ever been, worst on record. It's going to get a lot worse in the next like 2 years as well. We're going to see, in terms of the cities that are increasing in price, it used to be, like, over the last couple of years, it's been not, Sydney, Melbourne,
Just
Canberra.
those two, I think. Yeah.
Those are the big ones. Oh, and Brisbane. It's been like Adelaide and Perth and stuff like that. And they're like, that will slow a little bit. But then your Sydney, Melbourne, like Brisbane, they're going to go up massively.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's all looking good, really.
I mean, the housing thing's so frustrating. And from a socialist point of view, it can feel weird, like, to always go on about how hard it is to buy a house. Because that isn't our, like, it would be a much better model to not have to rely on private ownership.
Totally.
But again, the rental situation is so terrible.
Yeah.
You have no rights. You get evicted, as one of our headlines will show. Like, you can be evicted on the drop of a hat. It's so shit.
Yeah.
So the system is fundamentally broken.
Yeah, totally. It is, and it's and it like it seems like even like Engels, when he writes in the housing question, he's like, you know, this isn't an issue that exclusively affects the working class. Obviously, it affects the working class worse. But you know, it's just like the cheating of a shopkeeper that affects the petty bourgeois as well. But it will get to a point where it's so bad that an economic adjustment has to occur, a kind of thing, and he doesn't really speak about how to get there, but it's assumed, like, at the moment, that, like, you know, Labor recognises that, oh, this is a bit fucked, we should probably do something so that, you know, everyone's not mad at us, but they seem so wedded to the idea of, like, not doing anything about it and making it worse.
Well, it's so difficult. Like, it's rising house prices is so core to the Australian economy. It's the whole business model of the 4 big banks. It's there's all this investment in it, not from a lot of people. Well, there's a fair few people who have like one property, and then there's a much smaller number who have more than one. Yeah, but so that is quite a large vested interest, and then there's this narrative pushed by the media that if you have one, you benefit from them rising. Yeah, which only is true insofar as if you lose you can't afford to pay your mortgage and you have to sell. But if you're covering your mortgage, then it doesn't actually matter because you're buying and selling in the same market. But there's this whole narrative that everybody with a house benefits from them going up. Yeah. So politically, it's just really difficult for the major parties to, well, I mean, Liberals and really Labor would never do this, but it's very hard to come out and say you want them to fall because that you risk alienating this base. And you can imagine the media who's scare campaign about that. Yeah. So the only solution is public housing. Totally. Because consciously willing the market to fall in the absence of alternatives is just not going to fly. Yeah, exactly. But even the, like, you know, the mum and dad landlord argument is, like, it's misleading because it's true that, you know, the average investor owns just one investment property, but the vast majority of investment properties that's right, are owned by people with heaps. Yeah, that's right. So, like, and it's more properties are owned by people with heaps than they are, you know, people who just own an extra one investment property. So even, like, the narrative is just completely, like, there's so many ways that they can, like, the ruling class can spin it, and that's it's right, like, and it's quite effective. Like, the mum and dad landlord argument is an effective one, unfortunately, even though, like, not for me personally, but I know people who are like...
I thought that you were really impacted by that one.
Are you known for being really pro-landlord?
Exactly. I think so. I was on ABC where someone asked me about the mum and dad landlord thing, and I was like, I don't think, you know, being able to reproduce... I made a comment about, like, reproduction and, like, sympathy about, like, investment properties. Like, why did I say that? That was so inflammatory for no reason.
Sometimes, you know, we just say silly stuff.
But also, if you have an extra house, like, you're fucking fine.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Like, that's the reality. You're fine. Exactly. It's quite a minority of the population who have 2 properties. So,
and you can sell the house and make the massive capital gain and have it, you know, pay no tax on it.
It's just not a very, like, emotionally compelling
It's
case.
Stupid. But if you are, like, a working class family with a mortgage on your single property in mortgage stress that you live in, different story.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You might not be fine, actually.
That's right.
I've got a headline.
Let's go.
The days of 4% pay rises are behind us. Wages are now barely growing faster than inflation. Greg Jericho in the Guardian. I was wondering about this because a whole bunch of the sort of figures about Australia has been like, we're doing a lot better, inflation, wages, etc. But then Jericho basically puts forward that, like, actually wages are just slowing, they're not rising, and the cost of living actually is getting worse. So there had been a bit of, like, discussion and speculation that the cost of living pressures were easing, and he's saying that it won't, not until I think 2041, 2044, will we our wages have purchasing power as it was in 2021?
Assuming nothing happens.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, those kind of forecasts are not really worth the paper they're written on.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, the only reason there was 4% wage rises nominally is because there was a handful of public sector agreements, like the nurses, a few others that I forget off the top of my head, who got like 7-8%. It skews it massively. Most workers were not getting that. And it's good that those people were getting that, but
even that's still not enough to put us at like 2014 level.
Exactly. So, Australians actually, by global standards, we went backwards during COVID and the immediate aftermath more than America and the UK. But we have a higher base. We're starting from a higher position, so obviously Australia is still better off than some other places. But it's pretty grim, and I think for a lot of people, the hope of like a lot of interest rate cuts to make their mortgages more affordable seems to be fading now because of this kind of stuff. And the State of the Union movement just means that there's not a prospect of like industrial action to make up for the shortfall.
Yeah, it's shocking. I saw the ACTU post and Labor post the same graphic, which was like Australia has seen 4 consecutive quarters of real wage rises, and it's like by like 0.1% over the last year, we're still fucked.
And yet the price of my coffee keeps on increasing.
Well, maybe you shouldn't get that hipster kind of
it's just an
cold brew or whatever
black.
It is. Yeah.
It's not a cold brew.
I love cold brew, actually.
We've got another article. Omar, you put this one in here, and I didn't read it because I hated the title, but it's in The Economist, and it said why governments should stop raising the minimum wage.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's this, classic economist. They're against everything that's good. And the minimum wage has barely increased in most places for decades, but they're just complaining and saying that it's bureaucratic red tape that's slowing down the economy and leads to lower working class living standards in the long run,
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense that, if you put people's wages up, their lives are going to get worse.
It's true. Because then the companies won't make profit, they won't invest, they won't be building stupid data centers.
They'll cut jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What we really need to do is increase the amount of money that we're giving to the rich and powerful.
You got to give it to the economists. They're really like the last ones clinging on to neoliberalism in a really sincere way. Like all their staff writers are like trained in neoclassical rubbish. And even as everyone in the world is abandoning that, tariff subsidies, all this shit, they're still banging on about, free trade and whatever. The class war goes on in their minds, unaffected.
Annika, do you want to talk about the body cam footage one? It is. We spoke about it in Canberra. It's blocked.
I'm paywalled. No, you talk to us about it.
All right, let me see if
For God's sake, get an ad blocker.
Yeah. So the title is...
Oh, that one.
Yeah. It's body cam footage shows police coaching a father who murdered his family. As a psychologist, I'm enraged.
Yeah.
I think as an ordinary person, I'm fucking mad.
So this is referring to... So Hannah Clark and her children were brutally murdered by her partner. He was a disgusting piece of shit, obviously. But this body cam footage that's been uncovered, The Guardian's done a big report on it. And you can see the cops being like... So this guy has just kidnapped his child, taken the child 100 kilometers away or whatever.
I think they crossed the border to a different state,
And then the cops saying, you've just got to get some friends to say you're a good guy, you're a good dad, and then he says women would just make reports over anything. And then the cop goes, yeah, exactly, that's right. After this guy has just fucking kidnapped his child, it's just so distressing, and really talks to the sort of problem of thinking that the police are going to be some solution to domestic violence, because the police are used to being domineering, powerful, controlling, ignoring the pleas of people who are less, fortunate, less on the sort of hierarchy of power than them. And so it's a sexist institution. Yeah. And so they obviously are going to be more sympathetic to these men, and then women just suffer because of it.
Yeah, I mean the stats on police officers committing domestic violence are through the roof. I won't make up a stat, but I remember it's much higher than than the broader population. And it's for the reason you give. Like these people are used to like arbitrary power over everyone around them.
Yeah.
And then they go home and what they're going to be like democratic,
Totally.
collaborative kind of people.
And
like,
they're
no
given
offense.
like license to use force over people
Exactly.
to get their way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this guy who the police was saying, yeah, you're so right, you know, they use domestic violence, whatever. 2 weeks after this thing happened, he killed his partner and the girls.
Yeah.
And the daughter. Yeah.
It's just horrific.
Yeah, so thanks to those cops for being sympathetic and coaching him how to, you know, get out of that situation.
Yeah.
Like, cheers.
And they still haven't caught Desi Freeman, by the way.
Good on them.
So they're working hard.
Yeah, they're really good at what they do.
Yeah.
Which is, I won't say the thing I was going to say, actually. I'm reading through the headlines. They're all really depressing, so I'm going to skip to a funny one, which is that AI Slop is now making up Bible verses and posting them on Twitter.
This is great. Can you read the verse?
Yeah, so this is Matthew 18:19, allegedly. He prayed for her, she prayed for him, and God smiled, knowing that their names are already written next to each other.
What?
This is really funny. And on the Twitter thread under this, it's not Twitter, it's Blue Sky.
Yeah, it's Blue
Someone
Sky.
said, he was a boy, she was a girl. Can I make it any more obvious? Luke 21 or something. Absolute genius. I mean, it's really funny. I was looking into this, and when I searched like AI, Bible, whatever, this thing came up, which is all these Christian freaks are making AI videos about Bible scenes, and they're actually releasing them onto YouTube and getting millions of views. So like someone did like a YouTube.
Oh, I've seen a couple
Someone
of
did
them,
a
yeah.
YouTube movie of like Revelations, you know, which is like the
Incredible.
collapse of society
and
the-
angels and like
and it's like this half-an-hour video made by AI. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a weird world, the internet.
There's actually a song that's gone like viral, which is an AI generated song about Charlie Kirk, and like it's gone big.
Lord of your life. Jesus wants to be God above.
And then it's like Trump singing.
It sounds good.
And it's like, it's really uncanny valley.
That's incredible.
So yeah, then the chorus goes, "We are Charlie Kirk," and it's gone really big. So yeah, thanks AI for being psychotic.
AI is fighting the good fight. A headline, I mean, it's depressing, but I think it's important, and it tells you the state of things. I read an article, I think it was The Age, about a woman who was being evicted from her home because she couldn't pay. And she has children, and so she went to VCAT and she was trying to argue that, no, I shouldn't be evicted because I have these kids. I have nowhere to go. You know, what is going to happen to them? And the VCAT administrator, you know, some private school educated judge scumbag, suggested to her that she could send her kids to foster care while she looks for a home. And
Fucking hell.
like, just the callousness of these people. Like, the fact that this stupid landlord's private property, their right to access their investment is more important than like the basic shelter of this family. You know, firstly, it highlights how cynical and pathetic the family values on the right are. Like, they don't give a shit about families except to the extent that it oppresses women. They would see people thrown on the street as long as it protects private property.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, just the outrage of it. And it's just totally legal to be evicted and to have her kids like sleeping on the street for the sake of some fucking landlord. So yeah, that gives you a sense of just how grim it is.
Yeah.
And just how entitled these VCAT administrators, who are meant to be like neutral arbiters.
I just can't imagine telling someone like, "Oh yeah, just put your kids in."
Yeah.
Like,
Have you considered like
Just abandoning
losing
your
your
children.
children?
Yeah.
so upsetting.
But I like it in the article that it's like she added that the member acknowledged, so they're called tribunal members, they're not judges. It's really weird. You don't have to have a law degree. You don't have to be a practicing lawyer. You're just appointed. So it's, you know,
Maybe they should
Liberal
appoint
Party
me.
and anyone can be appointed. I don't think as a socialist we can be
But I'd just
principled
I'd rule in favor
tribunal
of the
members.
tenant.
yeah, sure. But yeah, she's like the member acknowledged this mother's vulnerability as a single mother of 3 children, and then obviously did it anyway.
Yeah.
Like, awesome.
Exactly.
Great.
A
That's
single
worse.
parent, that's right.
like, don't acknowledge it. At least pretend to. Oh.
I have a positive story about the tribunal thing. I won't say who, but a friend of mine's dad was appointed to the Refugee Appeals Tribunal. They were a lawyer and so on.
Yeah.
And my friend had a massive argument with him, and they it was very full on. But he actually got fired because he approved every single refugee staying.
Amazing.
And that's not what that committee's meant to do, So,
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice.
All right, cool. I feel like we can move on.
Yeah, they're all just
There's
really
more grimness.
sad.
We've got
It's a
more.
grim world.
We've
Didn't
got
do
a
any
lot more
funny
headlines,
ones.
but they're just really depressing. So,
Oh, actually, we should do Chip LeGrand.
Chip LeGrand.
No.
He's back on the pod.
Chip
What did he
LeGrand.
do now? I don't
Sorry.
think
He's
I
a
read
friend
it.
of the pod. I think we can say officially Chip LeGrand
Oh,
is a
he's-
friend
yeah.
of
He's
the
an
pod.
enemy of the pod. So he's written this like absolutely just enraging article, which is called the Battle of the Bobs. So and that's like Bob who? Bob Hawke? No, he's talking about the haircuts of the leader of the Liberal Party and the leader of the Labor Party in Victoria, Jacinta Allen and Jess Wilson. And it's this just like...
So overtly sexist.
So like the whole premise of the article is like, oh, it's not exceptional for women to be in power anymore. And like, he doesn't even really say that that's necessarily positive. He just says that it's like, there's lots of them now. Like there's a treasurer and the attorney general and whatever. And then the bottom of the last paragraph in the article, if you could get it up for me, Geordie. Because,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I just chucked it in there.
Thank you. It's it's just so indulgent, and he goes, he's talking about Jess Wilson delivering a press conference. A confession. During Wilson's first press conference as opposition leader, I couldn't help but observe and take detailed notes about her shoes until an angry voice on my shoulder, let's call it my feminine side, angrily pointed out that I'd never taken much of an interest in Brad Batten's boots. It's
Feminine
like-
or feminist? Did he actually say feminine?
He said feminine
yeah.
side.
Well
Like,
done, Chip.
Seriously.
And then
but then he actually, even though he acknowledges that...
he goes
Yeah,
on.
he's-
He actually
goes on.
does it.
And he
Yeah,
says,
yeah.
her brand of shoes, Baird Footwear, is well known among busy women for offering orthopedic support without compromising on style. And then talks about how the shoes are slightly punkish buckle with style. Like, this man
What a pig.
needs to just be slapped by someone. And I am putting up my hand. He can take note of what shoes I'm wearing when I...
Yeah. So,
'Cause
Chip, if you'd like to take us up on the offer.
Yeah, the appalling thing about this article is that it's premised on the fact that he shouldn't be commenting on the shoes.
And then does it.
But then he does it.
Yeah.
And that's meant to be proof that we live in a post-feminist, like, women running the world kind of era.
Totally.
Like,
yeah.
My feminine side. Oh, my God.
yeah, just move on, Chip.
Move on.
Get a Substack that no one reads.
He
To add to your-
he
like the
probably
rest
has
of
one.
To
us.
add to your book that no one read.
Oh yeah, because did you ever see that, Geordie?
No, what's
he
his
wrote a
book?
book about like how terrible the
Lockdowns.
COVID lockdowns were, and then he wrote this whole piece in the
The
Age, which was like, no one read my book.
Literally, he wrote a book that no one read, then he wrote an article about how no one read the book. Like, imagine
Oh my
having that
God.
much access to media and power that you can not only be paid to write a shit book promoting, like, basically just annihilating old people and disabled people from society, but then after no one reads it, you then have a platform to publish, like, on the... Like, it's just... This is the kind of shit that falls upwards, under capitalism.
Chip LeGrand.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening to the headlines.
Hope you enjoyed them. They were a lot less funny this week.
Yeah.
Riding out the party line.
Well, the other thing that's going on in the news is that the police have announced a designated zone for the CBD, which is not really that unusual. The cops are used to using this particular power, so it means that they can just declare an area, and then if you're in that area, they can come, they can search you, they can wand you. If you're wearing a COVID mask or whatever, they can tell you to remove it or direct you to leave the city. They can search your property.
Without suspicion.
Yeah, all of which is like quite an extreme, I would argue, overreach of police powers. Like they don't have to, you not have to commit a crime, but
Yeah.
the cops can come and invade your personal space.
Yeah.
But the thing that is remarkable about this is the designated zone has been announced or whatever. It's going to be a designated zone for 6 months. So from now until the 30th of May, which is the legal limit
Yeah,
for
that's
how
the most-
long
yeah.
they can have a designated zone for.
It's crazy because like this whole like all of this like thanks Labor again for the designated zone stuff, but all of it's like they say they introduce it with the far right stuff and whatever. It's like it's an emergency power so we can search people for weapons and whatever when circumstances arise. And now it's like we're just gonna, and they'll probably do another one after this one finishes. It's just like actually we just want to search people, and it will be predominantly, Indigenous kids at the station, just like it is in New South Wales when they had they were strip searching children at the station. They can just search you. Just like, you got a bag, I want to see inside it. I don't have to have a suspicion. I can just be racist, actually.
Because the whole point of the legislation, even on its own terms, is there are these times when the risk of crime or some sort of threat is elevated. This is just like 6 months of a year. This is just, and so it's part of a police campaign to increase their powers. They've been calling for a permit system. They want to be able to have more say of what goes on. They were pissed off with the Palestine movement's weekly rallies and all the other things we did. And so this is just like, I agree. I think, Geordie, they're just going to do it again.
Yeah.
After this ends, they'll just say, another 6 months. They're just giving themselves permanent powers.
Yeah.
And like the right, like to be searched for no reason. It's not only you've committed a crime. Like normally you have to be under suspicion. There has to be a reason. Whereas these laws specifically say you do not have to be under any suspicion. They just have the right to do it because of the general context, which is meant to be an elevated risk of whatever.
Yeah.
And so, this is a preventative measure. But this is not that. This is just like the whole of Melbourne for 6 months.
Yeah.
Anyone can be searched for anything for no reason whatsoever. It's a
insane.
massive expansion of their capacities and their kind of powers. And it really does flow from their campaigning that's been going on for some time. I think it's also a bit of an own goal in terms of the Blacklock stuff we talked about the other week. Like there's just generally a sense that something needs to be done, and whenever there's a campaign in the media that something needs to be done about something, whether it be women's rights in Afghanistan or law and order, that something reactionary is about to be done. And this is really an example of that happening before our eyes. So hopefully the left can respond and resist. And I think the best way of doing that is by actually activating our right or our need and our capacity to protest and not be intimidated by these people.
Because I was going to say that, a think a whole part of the designated zone powers is to intimidate people out of the city and out of coming to protests, because you don't want to be
searched.
Yeah. And have to come into contact with the police. And so, I think it's an argument for there being as big a crowd as possible at the anti-fascist rally on the 30th of November in Melbourne. It's going to be 11:30 at the State Library. We need a really big crowd to show that, one, we're not intimidated by the police, but two, we don't want the far right to just be able to march through the city and that be the only political message that is received on the day. So, yeah.
The point Geordie was making about who gets searched is really important.
Yep.
There was a report released this week which found that the police are 15 times more likely to stop and search Indigenous people. I think 10 times more likely to target
force.
With force, and 13 times more likely to use tasers on them.
Yeah.
It's same with African people. What's the stat?
23% more likely to have a pursuit initiated against them than a white person.
Exactly. So all the prejudices and bigotry that the police bring with them, having just blank slate powers to just target anyone.
The other thing that's remarkable about it is that the way the police say that they banned racial profiling in 2015.
Yeah.
So the thing that's extraordinary about that is that prior to 2015 racial profiling was that was the norm.
The du jour, yeah.
And then also what does it mean to ban racial profiling when everything about the cops is it's predicated on a racist approach to viewing the world, and racial violence is their MO. So obviously banning it has had zero impact.
It's like another thing, which is kind of unrelated, but like this kind of thing is like constitutionally illegal in a country like America. Like, you know, a shining example of civil liberties and the police being able to do whatever the fuck they want. They can't do unreasonable search and seizure. Like, that's just not allowed in America. And it's like, here, actually, you do that whenever you want, as long as the police say that they can do it.
And
That's
this data,
insane.
it is. And this data only came out because of FOIs, which the government keeps making harder and harder to actually get them through, and more expensive as well. So there's all these reforms and measures being implemented to try and protect the police, to increase their powers and shield them, like the entire government really, from any kind of accountability. The difficulty is that, you know, this was a headline. It's good that it got taken up, but unless there's a serious force that can push from the left reforms on this question and impose our rights, then this kind of stuff just gets normalized. I mean, we're seeing it in America with ICE. Like a year ago, who would have thought that ICE could just be kidnapping people off the streets of America? It's now normalized. We're seeing, you know, this is obviously not that, but it's just a steady creep of authoritarianism under capitalism. And I think this is just necessary for them because they don't offer us anything. They don't improve our lives. We're just talking about living standards going backwards. In this context, people are rebelling, people are frustrated, and the only thing the government has to offer is repression. So the left has to get its shit together because this is definitely the way the world is going.
Yeah. And just back on the designated zone, before we move on, I think this is really important. It was pointed out to me by a VS comrade that it looks like the cop who screenshotted the Google Map thing to, you know, draw out the designated zone. Their last Google search was Daydream Thai Massage and Spa, South Melbourne.
I'm sure they were just checking that everything was above board in that establishment.
Thanks, cops.
Cheers.
Riding out the party line.
Okay, let's talk about Pauline Hanson. I mean, she's up to 18%, which
Crazy.
is
Terrible.
a crazy figure. The rural polling, like there's a whole bunch of polls that came out like a week ago. And the rural areas, she's polling at 23%, 21% provincial, 21% outer metro, which is where I am. A bit concerning. So this is like a much more widespread support. You know, it's not just the rural backwaters of Australia where nobody really lives. The One Nation argument linking immigration to the social problems is starting to make inroads in urban centres. And I think Barnaby Joyce's, you know, imminent defection to her will only help that. So
You were saying they got dinner together?
Yeah, they got, like, just before Pauline did the burqa thing, they had, like, literally had a meal. I think it was lunch. And then she went and donned her burqa and did the stunt again.
It's so revolting. Like, obviously, Pauline Hanson has done this before. It's not the first time that she has insulted Muslim women by, you know, mocking them in Parliament House. But the fact that she's done it again just really demonstrates the way that she's trying to build her profile and really just continue to push extreme racist rhetoric. And, you know, the thing that irritates me about it is the Labor Party and that, you know, they all go on about how this is terrible or whatever, but as if they haven't played a role in increasing the amount of racism towards Muslim people, refugees, migrants. Like, they're happy to ride the wave of a whole bunch of this stuff.
yeah, I mean, the media all agrees that immigration is partly contributing to the housing crisis. That's just the standard narrative from the bourgeois press and mainstream economists. Fits with the supply thing. But then the burqa legislation that she's moved and the stunt, like, the media refused to call it racist. It's like the Age is just all like, they had two articles about it. One was like, this is a stupid stunt. It's like, what has stupid got to do with it?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, just,
would it be better if she put forward a reasoned argument about why she hates Muslim
exactly.
people?
Like, it's just race. It's racist, and they didn't want to use that word. And the Radio National was the same. They were just talking about it as grandstanding, divisive. It's like, no, some divisions are useful, like targeting the rich. That's a form of division that's actually healthy. But this is just punching down. It's racist. So it's pretty full on. The fact that so the media kind of legitimize this narrative by describing it in the most apolitical, anodyne terms. And it fits with their broader approach, which is to depoliticize everything and just make it about individual personalities. You know, was this a sensible move? Was it not? Nothing to do with like how it's read at the bottom of society, what kind of impact it has on the community, all that kind of stuff.
And I mean, there is sort of historical parallels going on. Obviously, she's done the Burqa stunt before, but Pauline Hanson has risen in politics previously. The way that the Liberal Party dealt with that last time was to just take on all of her arguments and policies, incorporate them into the Liberal Party's,
Platform.
yeah, exactly. And then that sort of meant that she couldn't make much hay of the political situation that she had created.
Well, they got her arrested.
Yeah, for
She went to
electoral
jail.
fraud or whatever.
Forgot
That
about
was
that.
So it was both.
Yeah. But, I mean, potentially she's got a better accountant now, so they won't be able to do that one. But, I mean, there was an article in the Australian by Greg Sheridan about, like, the battle going on inside the Liberal Party and sort of it says, Hastie knows the Libs could die if they lose this fight. And I guess the question that everybody's asking is the Liberal Party going to be able to weather this moment? Are they going to be able to pull off the same trick as they did last time? And Hastie definitely is trying to, we've talked about this on the pod before, definitely trying to limit the space. He's said clearly that net zero was their first goal, and now their second goal is immigration, and sort of making that the mainstay of their policies. So, it'll be horrifying and interesting to see what happens next in this sort of landscape of right-wing politics.
And then Trump, there was a bunch of headlines about how Trump is asking all US embassies around the world, and including in Australia, to collect data on immigrant crime, which is clearly designed to give the far right everywhere more ammunition to go on a tirade against migration. So, like, you've got the resources of the American state being used to promote far-right politics in this way. So, this narrative and this discussion is not going anywhere. It's got momentum behind it. Obviously, well, it's not obvious. I think it's probable that Hanson's support will drop as the election gets closer, because people do tend to want to impact results, and some of these protest parties their polling can be higher than what ends up happening on the day. But still, the fact that so many people are prepared to vote for her. There was another poll which showed, I think it was as high as 30% of people would be open to voting for her. Not that they will, but that they were open to it. No, sorry, it's actually only 21%. Yeah, but 21% being realistically open to voting for One Nation is like pretty high for a party that's traditionally got between like 2 and 7% nationally.
And it's true that the Liberal Party probably has a bit of like, you know, institutional stability because of its history of being a party of government for so long. But also, so did the like Conservatives in the UK. And
They did, the oldest party on the planet.
And they've bottomed out completely. And Nigel Farage and his pretty much fascist party of Reform UK are now polling at like above 30% there. So it really points to the sort of politically polarised time that we are living through. Like, it's a bit hackneyed or whatever to say that like we're in a political crisis, or, you know, there's a polarisation that's gone. And so, you know, you don't want to overuse terms like that, but you can see echoes of that situation in Australia, and then you can see it more clearly in places like America and the UK, where the far right have been able to just dominate the political landscape. And it goes to show how important it is that we do build up the sort of the forces of the left in Australia now, because society is only going to get more fractious and more crisis-ridden. And so we need to have the political forces that can say, well, no, we're not actually going to let a fascist party become the next party of government. You know, we're going to, you know, organise to stop that. So this stuff is as much as anything an argument to get organised with the socialists.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should probably have somebody who was involved in the in the sort of 1990s campaign against Hanson on the show a bit.
That'd be good.
We've got an article written by someone who was part of that.
Drop a comment if you want us to have an interview with someone who fought against Hanson.
Yeah, but like there's been a lot of discussions in Melbourne in the anti-fascist world about how to deal with this far-right threat. And one of the arguments that we've been making, myself and Annika in particular, through this movement is street campaigning is one side of it, right? We've got to protest them whenever they show up in numbers. We've got to be there in numbers, but it's inadequate. It's not sufficient.
Yeah.
The fact that these people have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to spend, they have mass membership parties now, they have a global trajectory of support and success. We need to build a political alternative, which is rooted in working class communities, in trade unions, in neighborhoods, in universities, that can make the argument about what's really to blame for this. It's not enough to just be on the streets once every few months. You know, we need to embed ourselves and be in a position to win arguments across society, whether that be in election campaigns, whether it be through workplace-based discussions and about what's really behind the housing crisis, stuff like that. You know, in the left in the UK, historically, when the far right ran in by-elections or whatever, there were big efforts to get out a sort of don't vote for the fascist kind of movement. Similar things have happened in France. So there's all sorts of tactics that can be used and are going to need to be used. And really at the heart of that is a big left, as you said, Annika, because, like in Thomastown, where the collective votes of the far right added up to about 17% in Scotland, I should say, the federal electorate. Like, that's scary. Yeah. And, the forces of the local Socialist Party branch there, like we can't letterbox every house, in Scotland easily. We can't, we door-knocked a lot of people in the last election, but there's a limit, So the more that we have socialist branches and infrastructure and members, the more of an impact we can have on the ground in fighting these kind of ideas.
Yeah. And we need to do it ASAP. Like you mentioned, like the growth of reform in the UK and stuff, and obviously Pauline's doing great and will probably do quite well at the election, even if she doesn't get many seats. She's going to get a whole bunch of money from the AEC, and then that's going to be a disaster for all of us. But also the White Australia Party about to register. It's not just Pauline that we have to worry about. It's like people to her right. That's insane.
Yeah.
And comrades were saying that in Coburg Mall earlier this week, the March for Australia people had a table and were handing out leaflets. Coburg Mall, the March for Australia.
That's fucked up.
Yeah. So we also have to think about how are we going to stop the far right from organising in sort of these multicultural, parts of our city.
Or anywhere, really.
Well, yeah.
But so there's a rally. Just to reinforce, the immediate step is there's a rally on Sunday, 11:30 at the State Library.
If you're in Melbourne.
So come to that. But we need to be thinking bigger and broader and more ongoing than just individual counter demos. Yeah.
As a segue, you mentioned what's the appropriate way to fight the far right. There's been a situation in America.
Well, I don't like where this is going.
Well, no, it's just the thing of Mamdani going and having this meeting with Donald Trump at the White House.
High tea.
Yeah. Was it high tea?
I don't know. Maybe they were hors d'oeuvres served.
But it's just sort of Mamdani goes to the White House, has this meeting, talks about how good FDR and the New Deal was, and then fronts this media conference with Trump and just beams alongside him, going on about how they have a shared project.
We'll play the clip here.
Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Yeah. It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind. We just had a great meeting, a really good, very productive meeting. We have one thing in common. We want this city of ours that we love to do very well. And I wanted to congratulate the mayor. He really ran an incredible race against, a lot of smart people. I think you're going to have, hopefully, a really great mayor. The better he does, the happier I am, I will say. There's no difference in party. There's no difference in anything. And we're going to be helping him to make everybody's dream come true, having a strong and very safe New York. And congratulations, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Please.
I appreciated the meeting with the president, and as he said, it was a productive meeting focused on a place of shared admiration and love, which is New York City. and the need to deliver affordability to New Yorkers, the 8.5 million people who call our city their home, who are struggling to afford life in the most expensive city in the United States of America. We spoke about rent, we spoke about groceries, we spoke about utilities, we spoke about the different ways in which people are being pushed out, and I appreciated the time with the president, I appreciated the conversation. I look forward to working together to deliver that affordability for New Yorkers.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really interesting to see the response because I think initially people who are like close to Mamdani predicted that he would cop flack for it, but actually there's been no flack at all from what I can see from any of the sort of
the people copping flack are like, it's bad to shake hands with a fascist.
And
say that you share common ground with the fascist.
I know, and it's interesting because before Mamdani did this, nobody would have said any mainstream Democrat leader who did this would have been good. Like the idea that shaking hands with Donald Trump is a good thing or is like a smart tactic is widely rejected. You know, when Albanese met with Trump, you know, we critiqued it, but like a lot of people on the left critique it. And now when Mamdani does it, people want to defend it. And I guess it points to the reflection that Brian Bean had about Chicago, which is when you invest your hopes in a figure in the state, you are very, you know, you don't want to see them fuck up. And then you therefore excuse a lot of things that you normally wouldn't because your desperation for change is just invested solely in this figure. But these figures are operating in a hostile place. And so the sort of bullshit political maneuvering they attempt to try and do in order to stay in power and maybe implement some part of their policies, you therefore justify. And so you find yourself being pulled miles to the right. Like, I just cannot believe the kind of good comrades in Australia who are defending, shaking hands with this fucking far-right racist war criminal.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that it displays is the utility to the Democrats for having more left-wing figures that people can pin their hopes in, sort of the process that you described, but looking at it from another angle. Because towards the end of Mamdani's bid for Mayor of New York, he had phone calls with advisors to Obama. I think Elizabeth Warren was helping him campaign. And so for the Democrats, one of the things that they can get out of it is all of these young people who had moved away from the Democratic Party because of their role in supporting the genocide in Palestine, and, you know, the fact that they'd done nothing for working class people for the time that they'd been in power. This can be one of the things that reinvigorates hope in the Democratic
Draws
Party.
them back in. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, I think that what I would like to see from someone who was a left-wing elected person in America or wherever else is actually refusing to meet with Donald Trump. Or if you met with Donald Trump, not just getting the grace from him to be able to say he's a fascist, but actually saying, we don't have a shared project. You want to allow... I'm not going to allow ICE into New York City to rampage against immigrants. I'm not going to allow you to continue your imperial projects, like actually making an argument and standing up, because that's the type of hope and confidence that ordinary young people in America need. They need to see someone who's actually willing to stand up and fight, not just sort of grin and talk about FDR.
Yeah.
Because like defenders of this say, well, it's necessary to make sure that the money flows from Washington and then he can implement his reforms. But then you can see the implication of this, because this is not an isolated thing. He's also maintained the police chief, who's a billionaire, Jessica Tisch.
And friends with Trump's children.
Yeah, so he's kept her as the police commissioner of the NYPD. There was a great headline in the Fortune magazine, which was like, defund the police no more. Zoran Mamdani seals coup with deal to keep her as the commissioner. So, you know, the serious capitalist media know what's going on here. He's also come out and endorsed Hakeem Jeffries, who's a right-wing neoliberal scumbag. who the DSA was attempting to primary.
Yeah.
He actually said, that's wrong. I support Jeffries because Jeffries is a very senior figure in the Congress now for the Democrats.
And said he wants to see him maintain his position as the House Speaker.
Well, no, if they get a majority, he wants him to be the
House
Speaker.
Speaker.
Yeah. So this is, and why is he doing that? It's because he doesn't control the tax. He wants support from the mainstream Democrats to implement some of his policies so that the state can raise more revenue so he can implement some of his reforms. So you can see how you start off with a radical program or a kind of semi-radical program, moderate radical program, and then you... yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then but to get that through, you need to work with like progressive Democrats, and then... But to get them on board, you need moderate Democrats, and then you find yourself shaking hands with Trump because you need the money to implement
slippery slope.
So it literally is a slippery slope. And I just want to read, because it can, we just joke. And like there's all this sort of online debate, and it's all like, are you being a Puritan? But I just want to quote from a book by Ahmad al-Akkad. One day, everyone will always have been against this. Because this is what's actually Trump has been part of recently. My daughter pauses midway through drawing the V's of a swing set in the park of her stuffy imaginary suburb. She gets up, walks over to where I'm sitting in the living room, scrolling through photos and videos taken in the aftermath of yet another atrocity in Gaza. She wants to double check the spelling of the word welcome. I shut down my computer quickly. In the various browser tabs, there is footage of a girl not much older than my daughter, pulled out of the rubble after an Israeli airstrike. In another is a recording of a girl begging for help, shortly before her execution at the hands of Israeli snipers. I have more than 20 tabs open, a bloody carnival of the worst crimes ever live-streamed. I tell my daughter she spelled the word correctly. She returns to her park, light as air. Like, these are the feelings that we've all been feeling for 2 years. And one of the main protagonists is Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Biden, Trump, Netanyahu. That is the trifecta of genocidaires. So people are just forgetting this man is responsible. Shaking his hand, even if you say in a stupid interview, Israel committed genocide. Israel didn't only commit the genocide. Trump committed the genocide. Biden did. So I just think we have to draw lines. We cannot allow electoralism to take us to the point where we're smiling and shaking hands with people who are responsible for these atrocities.
Yeah. I think like when I saw the video, my assumption, like I was like, that's so embarrassing. And like my assumption was that everyone would see that. So I just shared the video and said lol. And then I saw the comments rolling in and they were like, oh yeah, Mamdani owned him, like blah, 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 blah. And I was like, what? And then I was like, I have to clarify that that's bad.
Yeah.
Like what world are we living in at the moment?
Topsy-turvy one.
Yeah.
It's pretty disappointing. But it tells you why you need socialist principles, honestly. People can excuse anything in the guise of electoralism.
Riding out the party line.
Welcome back to the Party Line. We've got a special guest here in the podcast studio with us today. Leo Puglisi, is that right?
Puglisi. Close.
Leo is the founder of 6 News, which is a very popular news source in Australia. I think probably most people's go-to news source at the moment, more reliable than The Age or The Guardian for breaking news. And Leo, like 6 News is pretty special, because it's run by young people.
Yeah, so it's been run entirely by young people since it was founded. So it was, 6-7 years ago. I was in primary school and it was like nothing more than a passion project. A couple of years later, we've got a small but really strong team of other young people, some a bit older, some a bit younger, who just like doing journalism and presenting and media and politics. And it's been a really, really great team.
How do you balance that with actually doing school? I mean, because you guys put out so much content.
I wish I knew. It was a lot easier in 2020-21 where I'm able to, on one screen I've got Gladys Berejiklian resigning, on the other I've got a maths Zoom class. Got a bit harder post then, but we still, the team was growing at the same time, so I had less to do, which is always helpful, especially around exam season, as I've done 2 years in a row now. And I guess it's just finding time, scheduling tweets. I'm not denying that I would be on Twitter in class. I don't think I can get in trouble.
As a teacher, I'm appalled.
I don't think I can get a retrospective detention. Or anything like that. No, I just figured it out one way or another, and I guess it held up because it's done now. So I finished it over the past.
No,
6
it's good.
years.
So, how did you get into political journalism in primary school? Tell our listeners that story.
I'm still not like entirely sure, to be honest, how I've gotten to this point. I distinctly remember 2018 Vic election night, following, it would have been the ABC's coverage, and like marking down seat by seat results. And I think I had, those 4 coloured pens and marking them off colour by colour, which was always fun. And I think there's video, like going back a lot further, of me like watching the 7 p.m. ABC News in a high chair. I think that's somewhere.
Cute.
But I guess a combination of interests. So non-fiction writing, I guess, like if we were given the chance in English, and again, we're talking year 6 English, but if it was like write a mock newspaper article, I would do that. That, public speaking, I did school debating, public government school, by the way. A lot of people think I went to a private school. Public government school debating. I'm proud of that.
Want to stress that.
Yeah, I am proud of that part. So that, the public speaking element of it. And then also, it was kind of the time when the governments were first giving all the public schools iPads. So there were a lot of like video projects that we were doing at the time that kind of came together because I edited it myself. And I guess that just came nicely together. It kind of continued. And again, here we are now.
I've been thinking about the iPad thing in primary schools. I mean, we're going to talk about the social media ban in a bit, but I feel really hostile to the iPads in school question.
Yeah, definitely.
Because, like, it's just another marker of wealth and, like, status that children have to think about. Like, I went to a school that you didn't wear a uniform, which was good, but then also that becomes a source of anxiety because do you have the clothes to keep up with the latest And then with the iPad, it's like my nieces are, like, in primary school and they get teased because they don't have the fancy iPad that the other kids do. Like, everyone knows that they're poor. Like, it's really, I don't know, I find it upsetting. For like another thing that children have to think about.
They gave us just like the generic one at the time, so it was all supplied. I think it was like 1 between 2, so everyone had to learn to share. So it was. I think that worked. I mean, look, to be fair, that I kind of looking back over the over like old newsletters that the school sent out, you kind of realise how much money this government school needed with the amount of fundraising they were doing.
Yeah.
And so like I think up until 2018 we were still on like early 2000s, late 90s like Windows computers. Yeah. It was not particularly good, but that's kind of the not surprising as a government school anyway. So yeah.
So basically, all this stuff you were doing would now be impossible.
Pretty much,
Can you tell us about like your thoughts on the ban of underage kind of internet usage, basically?
Yeah, well, I've been opposed to it from kind of when I first heard it. I think it would have been like mid last year when it would have been Peter Malinauskas proposing it. And
yeah, you appeared in a parliamentary inquiry.
Yeah, 2.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I've done that. So I guess I've really been opposed to it based on certainly not like we'd take any financial hit. We wouldn't. We don't lose any members of our team now. It's nothing at the 6 News element of it. But I think number one, I think the privacy element of it is a real concern. Notwithstanding that we already give so much to big tech companies, but also having to prove your ID just to make a YouTube comment or something, I think is taking it a step too far. Number two, I don't think there was really any consultation. Like, it was passed through the very last day of Parliament. We weren't really given the chance to properly speak about it. And then also, I think there hasn't been enough in the conversation about vulnerable young people who do use it for really important reasons, remote areas, marginalised backgrounds, who maybe they don't feel safe at home, but they've got a safe space online. And that is essentially, made a lot harder to access. And I think that is a real concern as well when that's been important. And that's notwithstanding, of course, the harms that do come with social media that I'm sure everyone here agrees. I certainly have, but the ban doesn't remove harmful content. The ban doesn't do anything like that. And that's where my opposition has really come from.
Yeah, I think that one of the things about it is that it patronises young people a lot. Like, there's an assumption that young people, don't know what they're doing. And I think it's clear that a lot of young people have actually become exposed to left-wing ideas and content through social media. Like the question of Palestine became popularized because people were able to see what was happening in Gaza because it was on Instagram, it was on TikTok. Young people have a right to communicate with other young people, and it's the way that people are like in 24/7 contact with one another, making friendships and the like. But yeah, the harmful content aspect of social media is interesting to think about. There's a lot of sort of research that's gone into the way that especially young women are massively impacted by stuff on social media. A New York University professor writes about how young women have much higher rates of persistent sadness, like self-reporting persistent sadness, like just this constant feeling of it because, they're getting fed like why you should only eat 1,000 calories a day. And so it sort of is clear that it's like social media, I agree the ban is wrong, but it's like these social media companies are just making huge amounts of cash making young people feel terrible.
Yeah, it's a really vexed one because, and it's not just that, like they employ psychologists to addict people. Like, how do we make this app more addictive? How do we, tap into the brains, like literally chemical hardware to get people going? And that's what notifications are all about, the constant dings and likes and whatever. So they're really evil and they make so much money off it. And most of the platforms now are just so terrible. But like, why 16-year-olds particularly, and the arbitrary, age group, like clearly 16-year-olds can do a lot of things. They can learn to drive. They can, study for exams. They can even be at university if they're a little bit advanced.
Jail for life.
They can go to jail now. Yeah. Thanks to Jacinta Allen. So, society judges these people as having all these capacities and whatever, but then they're banned from watching videos. And to the extent that there's problematic content on the internet, like it would take more resources, but you could go after the producers of the problematic content. You could go after the companies hosting and sharing the problematic content rather than just this blanket ban, which basically the internet is part of society now, for better or for worse. And so it's like banning young people from watching TV or something a generation ago, or banning people from going to the movies. It's sort of...
Well, that's what they were talking about before, the scourge of video games. Was
exactly.
TV in the 60s, 70s, etc. I'm sure it's been kind of continuous, and that is also part of why it's so hard to kind of stop young people, because if you're telling young people not to do something or not to watch something, I know, in fact, they're a lot more likely to go around that and watch it. And as you just said there, I think that's a really good point on the harmful content, and just you as well. It absolutely exists. I think the government has a lot of tools at its disposal that could be tackling them and removing harmful content around eating disorders or violence or any of those areas.
Gambling.
Yeah, which could be done.
Yeah.
But just isn't. And supposedly we're just delaying the age it'll see it. And I'm not sure that it will be any better for a 16-year-old to see that content than a 15-year-old. And again, we are talking about 15-year-olds being banned, not 5-year-olds. I don't want to see a 5-year-old on Instagram. We're talking about teenagers, high school students, people who are able to work jobs, right? And I think it's really important that they are able to have some kind of access to social media, even if it is like a Instagram for teens situation. Something like that I think is a lot better than just a flat-out blanket restriction from opening an account on the basis that supposedly they'll never ever see this harmful content before they hit this one particular age.
Yeah, because I'm not a libertarian, I think like some bans or some, laws are important. Like, for example, like children not being able to buy cigarettes or you have to wear a seatbelt when you go into a car or whatever. But yeah, I think it's pretty clear that this isn't actually going to stop young people from accessing the internet, like you've said. It blocks out a whole bunch of stuff that's just like useful and interesting, like watching a YouTube video about a science thing or,
listening to our pod.
Actually, have they banned Spotify? I don't think so.
No, it's YouTube.
No, they can't watch our faces.
well, not yet. They're adding and re-adding and removing new platforms every single day.
Yeah.
So by the time we finish this, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe we could do with the pod on Roblox or something. I heard they're not banning that.
But isn't Roblox like even worse or something? There's worse content
there's some
on
bad
Roblox.
stuff on
there.
there.
I don't know. I think
I don't even know what it is.
I don't know.
I'm not a particularly giant user of Roblox either, but there's more harmful content issues on there, but again, it's being ignored. With that said, I'm we don't want to give the government any more platform. No.
Don't expand it. Yeah.
I'm happy with just leave it where they're at.
And also the other thing is just like the way the Labor Party talks about it. Like it's obviously just a sort of, it is just a stunt for them that's going to impact young people. But the way that Albo announced it, like, I want, a dad to be able to say to his kid, it's illegal, mate. Like, it's just so smarmy and hate it.
It's pathetic. Yeah. It's like, let's be blokey about this. What?
Yeah.
What's that? Not addressing any of the core issues that are the problem.
Because the other thing is, like, in terms of like women's oppression, which is obviously perpetuated by these things, like most of the influencers on Instagram are women and they all look a certain way. But then it's not like the rest of pop culture is different.
No.
Like, I'm constantly astounded by how thin actresses have to be on television, basically. And all the news presenters, the fucking weather presenters, like, they all have to be a very specific way, dress a very specific way. Like, so yeah, these tropes exist across the board.
Yeah.
And eliminating them from one space doesn't mean that there's going to be all these positive. Like, let's deal with the actual root issue, which is women's oppression. The gender pay gaps, the depictions, the lack of normality for people to look like just have normal.
And on the other,
it's presentations.
On the other side of it as well, because like obviously one of the issues with YouTube and social media and stuff right now is the manosphere and sort of like right wing Andrew Tate sort of culture, and that obviously has just gone throughout the like school system. Like Omar's a teacher and you've had young boys talk about Andrew Tate and stuff like that. But it's like, obviously Andrew Tate is an extreme manifestation of it. But how many movies just depict like extremely sexist relationships between men and women as romantic? So I think you're right. It's like the base level of society is all of this stuff. And then it can become exaggerated on social media.
And I think the theme of like protecting the children, I think, Leo, you're really right to point to all the other ways like it comes up. It's such a reactionary thing. Like, children have agency. Like, going back 200 years, people getting married at 13 and 14, it was just the norm, like, and obviously it's good that people get to live more now before they're trapped in these sort of scenarios, but it's like, it's just so artificial, it's so patronizing. We should be teaching people how to navigate the world. What is a stereotype? What is racism? What is misogyny? What is violence? Learn to understand it, reject it, and because you need those skills, it's not just like the internet's the only place where you'll see that stuff.
Yeah, I feel like you would be used to being patronized. Like probably a lot of the way that people talk about Channel 6 News is like,
one
it's so
or two
cute.
comments over the years.
Yeah.
No, I think we've had our fair share. I remember there was this Herald Sun article in maybe 2021, which was by it was the Backroom Baz column, and it said something. Maybe this was like 2020. I would have been like 13 or something. But it was something along the lines of like I wish I had it off the top of my head, but it was like mentioning how like I was tweeting during school hours, and it was something about like, we suspect Leo has a team behind him making him better. I was like, not really.
As in like he was saying like adults were helping you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Papa mastering.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's been, look, to be fair, that's been the conspiracy for like years. And again, it's so weird because.
Do you want to take the opportunity to bust the conspiracy?
Well, it's just not true. It's just my parents are fantastic, but they couldn't do what I've done. They aren't in that industry. They don't. They asked me for help with Word documents, right? Yeah. So I don't think they'd be able to do that. Yeah. And also, it's like it's just really amazing that it's kind of stuck with me. Despite the fact I'm now like an adult and it's still stuck with me. There's this one guy on Twitter who keeps commenting on our Ozpol tweets, something about, was this taken in the canteen shop, year 6 pubescent? It's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, it's such weird people out there.
Totally.
Because Liberal Party is just full of mature, rational people making sensible deliberations about policy.
But look, it's like I think young people, and again, we're talking about teenagers in high school here. I think, we've got to show them a lot more respect. We've got to hear them. I was, really lucky to have the opportunity to speak at 2 different parliamentary committees on this. I think it's important we hear from more and more young people on this because they are the ones being directly affected. And that's not saying don't hear from advocacy groups or don't hear from parents. Of course, hear from parents, but we really do have to hear from the people who are being impacted by the most. But also, at the same time, we are the generation that has grown up with social media, and in many ways, able to understand it differently to someone who was along when it was growing. This has been part of my life. I'm in that generation where you can talk about the first YouTube video you remember, right? So it's something that's really important to hear the perspective from.
And it's not as if adults just make the right decisions. I mean, Donald Trump is the president of America. He wasn't elected by teenagers. He was elected by adults. So this idea that suddenly when you turn 18 or whatever, 16, suddenly your brain becomes full of wisdom. The reality is we live in a society that's contested. There's different ideas, there's different values. And, teenagers have just as much right to access that and be part of that debate as anyone else.
Yeah. Well, speaking of accessing the debate and young people, not being patronised, I think that young people should be able to vote. I think 16-year-olds, why is it only when you turn 18 that you get to be able to vote? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think 16 is like a fine age to lower it to. I think it'd be worth having it at some trial. I think that'd be really important. Potentially a local election where it is mandatory in Vic, and kind of seeing if that can improve the process. Now, that's not the perfect example because you don't have in-person local elections voting, so it's not ideal. But I think it'd be definitely worth looking at, especially when we're talking about 16-year-olds being expected to act, and this is a point I've been making with the social media ban, they're expected to act a lot more maturely. They're expected to, many of them have, driver's licenses, jobs, etc. And I think it's really important that they're able to have a say, and it's absolutely something we should worth looking into, especially when, I think we almost forget because of how many other things are happening in the UK at the moment, but they're lowering the voting age right now. So I think it'd be worth kind of aligning with that. Now, look, I don't anticipate it'll be happening anytime soon, but, I'd be more than happy for it. And I'm saying that as someone who can now vote at the currently normal age. Although I still got to wait another year, which is the real beauty of being born in November. I missed this year's election.
Oh.
Tragic.
It was sad. Disappointing.
Yeah, I think it's not fair that young people are denied the right to have a say over the world. And the other thing I think is that young people at the moment tend to be more left-wing. So from a self-interested perspective, for the Victorian socialists, I think it would be good if those young people could vote for us.
I mean, they're less ground down by the kind of norms of capitalism, right? This idea that you just got to, scrimp and save, keep your head down, you'll get ahead. Young people have a higher vision of what society could be, and so I think that's why they tend to lean left. They think, maybe we should not destroy the climate,
totally.
And they're right about that. And the thing is, they'll be affected by the policies way more.
Totally.
Purely rationally, the views of a 16-year-old should have more weight because they're going to be impacted by it more, you know. So at the very least, they should have equal weight. The idea that they're too ignorant or something. I mean, just listen to 3AW or something. You'll see a lot of ignorance. You can't deny people the right to vote based on their so-called ignorance. If you're going to have a compulsory system, you've got to include everyone who's capable. And I think 16-year-olds are definitely capable. Personally, I think it could be younger even, but at the very least, 16. People are in the workforce. They're being exploited. They're going to school. They're thinking about their future. And they can't vote. It's ridiculous.
I will say among that, I think it is also really important, and something that I've stressed for some time, is that civics education absolutely has to be improved in government schools. We get very little of it. Some of it's non-compulsory classes, classes you get after year 10. I'm forgetting all the terms. Good. I don't want to remember any school terms now. But the electives, and but also year 9, we'll only get a very limited class. And I think it's really important that it's kind of drummed in early, especially if it's for year 12s who'd be voting for the first time. Many people, many of my classmates, were voting for the first time this year. And I think it's really important we absolutely improve civics education in school, just at the basic level. I think that is really, really key. As you said, when we have a compulsory system, I think that really matters.
But part of it is the way it's taught in schools is so sort of depoliticized. It's just sort of, here are the structures and whatever. And it's you need to know some of that. It's fine to know some of that, but it's also, what are the values being contested here? What are the substantive issues? Because, if you're going to interest people, people are interested in politics, left or right, whatever your view is, on issues. It's not the process of voting that's so, stimulating. It's thinking about what you stand for and what party represents you. But you're not really allowed to talk about any of that at schools. It's really anodyne and airbrushed. And so it's just sort of, you go to Canberra if you're lucky, or you just read about it. What's the upper house? What's the lower house? The division of powers. But no one that's not what motivates anyone.
And look, I get obviously why government schools have to be really cautious in that area. And I do think, though, that is really important, especially when you have basically no real neutral sources out there. I mean, there are some good videos on parties, but also, many of them are outdated and don't have, like the current policy platform, etc. And that's not going to be, helpful. Like, you look up Australian parties on the political compass, which is already like dodgy enough, I guess. And you see things like the Nick Xenophon team. Like, Nick Xenophon team is like 2025. You don't need the Nick Xenophon team on there. So I think it's really important that you get better education on those values, on what parties stand for. But also, I do think there is a really strong element that the voting process, etc., is absolutely part of that, and made like really, really clear as well. So it is easy to vote. And look, most voters, including many young voters, have said that it is an easy process. As long as we just continue that, I think that is really important, because I think we've got something that is generally a pretty good system, and I'll want to see that maintained, but also educated in the best possible way for young people.
And I think you guys do a really good job in covering things that don't always get covered. Like you try and present like a whole range of political opinions, and it's not just us, it's just the media is so focused on Labor Liberal. You guys try and give a broader scope. So I think that's really useful.
You'd be familiar with hearing on there with some of them.
Yeah, that was a nightmare. But it's true. And I think there's an element to like, there's a trust there that's been built like with various scoops and stuff from, all over the political spectrum. And I think that's, important journalism. Like, I'm a socialist, so I probably wouldn't be interviewing, far right people. But like, that's probably it is just streets ahead of whatever the fuck exists at the moment. If you look to literally any other news platform, it is, astounding literally how much better you were able to do it from your literal bedroom than these institutions with millions and millions of dollars. It's ridiculous.
I appreciate it.
Cool.
Well, thanks so much for coming on the pod, Leo, and congratulations on finishing year 12, and happy birthday for the other week.
Thank you. Anytime. Really, really happy to come.
Also, before you go, have you had your first legal drink yet?
I've not. No. I was sick the first week, and it's just
don't worry about it. It's not that good.
So we'll wait and see.
Awesome. Wait for the update. I'm excited.
Thanks, Leo.
Thank you.
Riding out the party line.
Well, thanks so much for listening to, what is it now, episode 9?
Yeah, this is episode 9.
Episode 9 of The Party Line. And we wanted to make another shout out for our, I don't know if you'd call it a shout out actually, but we want to direct you to a plug, that's right, for our Patreon. We're really thankful to the people who have, signed up already. And if you want to, you can go to Patreon. I think it's like /partyline.
Yeah.
That's it.
We'll have a link somewhere.
We'll have a link. Yeah, we didn't have a link at the last one, and someone on YouTube was like, give me the link. I want to give you money. So thanks to that person.
Yeah.
And just another thing as well, we're going to do this listener questions episode in the next couple of weeks. So there's still time to submit a question.
Please do.
And next week, we're going to be talking about the history of the Liberals and Nationals in Australia. So that'll be a special episode with a special guest. And so we hope you listen along to that one.
Who's the guest?
Chloe Rafferty.
Oh, sick. Right.
So Chloe actually hosts a really great podcast called Red Flag Radio. They are a lot more researched and in-depth than we are.
Yeah.
We're like the bros talking, and they're like well-researched and smart.
Yeah, they don't talk about silly tweets.
Yeah. So if you feel like becoming an intellectual after you've listened to us, you can go listen to Red Flag Radio. You got anything to say, Omar, or are you just... No.
I'm a stunned mullet at this point. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening.
Have a good day.
Oh, my darling, oh, my darling, oh, my darling party line. Oh, I never will forsake thee, for I love this life of mine.